It's a recap of everything that's happened this week, the good and the not so good. Let's talk about it.
So I want to start this by giving a huge shout out to my brother, Stacy. Please head over to his channel, hit that subscribe button, and check out the 3 videos that he's done on this topic. I'll actually be stealing some clips from him. Basically, to summarize it, a famous food critic, TikTok food critic, Keith Lee, who's also a UFC fighter, he's been doing a countrywide tour where he stops at different Black-owned restaurants, reviews the food, reviews the customer service, and he gives his opinion. And because of that, he's become a pretty big deal in the food scene. So big of a deal that now when he goes to places, he has his family go in to place their order to get the baseline experience of the establishment. So he's not treated differently just because of his platform. And when I first saw this story on Stacy's page, it really struck me how similar some of these issues that we have with Black-owned businesses are with some of the issues that we have with some Black women. So I wanted to kind of juxtapose the two. Black-owned businesses, and again, I want to be very clear, this includes African-owned businesses, are notorious for their terrible customer service. And as somebody with a business degree, I feel multiple ways about this. Number one, I understand that Black-owned businesses don't have the same legacy as their white-owned counterparts. So the money isn't there, the staffing isn't there, the business experience isn't there. So we have to have a little bit of grace, right? They're not going to be as quick. They're not going to necessarily be able to produce the same quantity as their white-owned business. However, you would think that we would overcompensate with some of the soft skills, things like customer service. But what you find is very often when you go into a Black-owned business, they look at you and treat you like you ain't worth a damn, like you are bothering them for wanting to patronize the business. Jamaican restaurants are notorious for this. African restaurants are notorious for this. And what's difficult is that the food tends to be really, really good. It's a running joke that if you go into a Jamaican or African restaurant and the customer service is good, the food is going to be bad. Or if the food is good, the customer service is going to be terrible. And as Black folks, I think it's high time that we demand more. What's particularly frustrating about this situation is that instead of the restaurateurs to take this critique well and improve their business, they, Candy Burst, the owner of Honey and Milk, I think, chose to be defensive and petty, which again juxtaposes perfectly with what we see happen with our women.
The company caught wind of it, and this was their response, dog.
Did you see this Keith Lee video about the real milk and honey?
And who is this Keith Lee?
Daddy, you don't know Keith Lee?
Yes.
No.
God damn, they really try to play Keith Lee like that, huh? Crazy. And on top of that response, you have an employee, a Milk and Honey employee saying this right here. Y'all let an autistic man tell you what to eat. Also, it's only TikTok. Nobody give a funk in real life. Be funking for real. And yes, y'all see her name. The real manic mogul, Milk and Honey Management. Yeah, but the same ones that was scrambling around trying to serve that man, even though they had an alleged deep cleaning situation going on at the store.
Keith Lee went to these restaurants. He had a bad experience. He told his millions of followers about his bad experience. And instead of owning up to it and putting in systems to fix the problem, instead, no, the problem is Keith Lee. Similarly, when we talk about some of the issues with our female delegation, instead of owning the problem and moving towards solution, it's who hurt you. It's you're not man enough. A real man would ...
I really just wanted to say I do appreciate Keith Lee for stopping by our restaurant and trying to show us love. It is very unfortunate that we couldn't serve him and his family. We would have loved to, okay? But he's right. We don't take to-go orders on the weekends, and the simple reason is because we do love and appreciate the people who come and support our restaurant. On the weekends, we get a lot of community support, people in our city that show up for us, as well as a lot of people from out of town. So with that being said, we don't want to overwhelm our kitchen by having to, have such long times for the people who are actually at the restaurant, plus having to do to-go orders, because obviously that would make the wait times even longer. So that's the reason for that. For those of you, I saw a couple of people was like, why wouldn't they take to-go orders? Well, that's why. Anyway, with that, outside of that, I want to say thanks to Keith for trying to even show up to our restaurant and show us love. Thanks for trying to bring your family by. And maybe next time we'll still get a chance to serve you.
All right, so that was Candy Burris. Now, some people aren't feeling that she didn't acknowledge the preferential treatment that Keith Lee said that he received, and he wasn't really feeling that in comparison to how other patrons are being received at the restaurant. Now, this person says the point Keith's being missed. Keith wants to be treated good before y'all found out it's him. That's the only way he can give an honest review. If y'all only give people with clout preferential treatment, then that is a problem. This person says the whole point is to treat everybody the same, but a lot of y'all self-esteem is so low that you would prefer a celeb be treated differently.
And the bigger picture here is that our community, being a matriarchy, has led to an effeminate disposition. And that effeminate disposition is bled into our way of doing business. And ultimately, it hurts us. Because with restaurants especially, they have a notoriously low profit margin. I think to be a quote-unquote successful restaurant, you're operating at a 3-4% profit margin. And again, these are restaurants that are scaling. But in our community, where the focus is just looking like success, as opposed to the sustainability of said success, and the scalability of said success. No, we don't focus on good business practices that actually help us grow and maintain what we've built. We just focus on the aesthetic of being a boss.
Welcome back to Breakdown Friday. Joseph Ward, Patrick Irvin, Professor Carl Tone Jones without the blazer this week. I know.
I just took it off.
But we're here to break down the reality of Black businesses. So I'm not taking the same exact angle as the gentleman in the video because I want to focus on Black businesses overall. Pulling back the veil and putting some truth and some statistics and things next to it to show how successful Black businesses really are these days. Because the video, I chose this part of this video and clipped it up because what I do want to focus on that's in the video is the presentation and the product of Black businesses. All right, Black people, we got to start running businesses like Popeyes, like we work at Popeyes, right? So, but it's this clip and also a conversation that I had with my man Sam Carter during homecoming, because my friend and I, we was basically having a conversation with him about why don't HBCUs go to the playoffs in the FCS college football. And basically it broke down to a lack of economics and competency, proper economics and proper competency. And with that, and then seeing the situation with Keith Lee going on, it just, okay, so we need to have a real conversation about Black businesses and really put the things on the table and really pull back the curtain as to why we choose to run our businesses the way we run our businesses. Basically, it's the Popeyes mentality. Everybody know when you go to Popeyes, it's niggerish, right? So why do we bring that mentality to even different sectors of business, and why do we run our businesses in a way that makes it seem like we're better than our customers when the customers keep us afloat? So, but that's just one aspect of it. It's deeper than that. So, Pat, man, what you think about the overall idea of bad businesses or bad business practices with Black businesses? Why do you think that's such common practice? Bad attitudes and bad business practices.
I think it goes at its core is intellectual laziness. Black people aren't doing the research necessary to learn what solid business models are, what solid business practices are. what are even solid industries to go into business, the purpose of a business, how to run a bit. Like black people aren't doing that kind of research. And this is something that I can speak to very confidently.
I know you can.
For various reasons, one of which being that I owned a business that offered Lean Six Sigma services to other businesses. And the whole purpose of me doing that was to be able to give black people, black business owners, access to the same sorts of skills and resources that white businesses were using to scale their products immensely, error free, reduced costs, and everything else. And I ran that business successfully. You know, I was able to pay my bills. I was able to do a lot of amazing things with that business. And for those that are curious, the only reason that business does not still exist is because I decided to focus more on direct community development instead of continuing to run that business. So to be clear, I was successful. I did not fail at that business. A decision was made to redirect my energies into a different direction. So I say all that to say I know what the fuck I'm talking about. All right. So that is at its core. That is at its core. When you talk to most black business owners about an idea for a business, they haven't done a single shred of research in terms of the market, in terms of processes needed to produce, in terms of scalability, in terms of customer base. Yeah, 95% of the black business owners that I work with, even those that already had a business going, you ask them who's your customer, they say everybody. Okay, so you don't have a customer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can really dig as deep into this as you want, but that at its core, that is why black businesses continue to fail. Everything stems from a lack of research, intellectual laziness, and then from there, there's inculcated corruption, my new favorite term. There's all kinds of other things going on that prevents business owners from appreciating black customers and black patrons. As much as we like to talk about how black people have failed their black businesses, that has been very much reciprocated by black businesses. So, and we can keep going, you know, and even to one of the things the brother said in the video where he's talking about his business degree, and he was talking about how and I'm just referencing that because it takes me back to the spot he mentioned it at. Not that I'm slighting on the brother for having a business degree, because I'm not. But when he talked about giving black businesses grace because they don't have a legacy, with that, that's not how that works. We understand that black businesses oftentimes don't have the resources. So that comes into, again, we're talking about scalability, the scale that you're able to open your doors at. And we're talking about the amount of money you have. And we're also talking about economies of scale. So we're talking about the prices that you have to set based on how much it costs to produce your product. So yes, we have to give them grace in that sense, where black people can't necessarily go into a black store, especially a mom and pop store. You shouldn't go into any small business and expect the same low prices that you get at Walmart. Right. You shouldn't do that. That's not fair. But outside of giving grace for elevated prices, small businesses also understand that because our prices are elevated, because we can't afford to buy in bulk, essentially, our service has to be elevated. So you can't give grace. There's no grace to give. They offer a particular product at a particular price point that we all know you can get from somewhere else better. So what they need to do is complement that by having superior service. There's no grace needed.
Right. Okay. Now I'm with you. I'm with you on that because especially now, because we've had a boom in the number of black businesses that have opened since COVID, since 2020. And because of that, it's an illusion of an immense amount of black success. But when we really get into the numbers, we're going to see that we do have successful Black businesses, but it's not as many as people think they are. But the lack of scalability, the lack of resources, the lack of capital, all these different things that you mentioned that these Black businesses lack, but they also lack the soft skills. So PC, why is it so common for Black businesses to lack the soft skills, even though they already lack the other resources that they need to compete with other businesses in other industries?
Well, one thing is we don't have a culture that focuses on those particular mannerisms, on respecting people who are nice to you. We don't, like he did a comparison of Black businesses and Black women, like relationships with Black women. And the one thing that's consistent with both is that far too many times, if you're nice in either one of those directions, that the person you're nice to or the group that you're nice to will usurp your niceness and take your kindness for weakness. And that's the most unfortunate part about all of this, is because you want to break this generational situation. It's not even generational, it's a cultural situation that we're in right now. But it's kind of hard to do that because you still have to get to the point where the breakthrough takes place, and then you have to maintain until the breakthrough takes place. So this is one of those things that, my God, are we too far down the road to fix this? And I have to ask that question because I can't honestly, like, listen, in terms of like what I saw with the sister, and she used to be in like Escape or something, right?
Yeah, Candy Burrs, yeah,
Candy Burrs, right? In terms of her response to the brother's experience, I gotta. There is a part of that exists, a part of that arrogance that exists because they, when you go into business, they believe that their bad attitude is an obligatory part of their business. They believe you should suffer that bad attitude because it's cultural. They believe, like, we've even had like a lore to it. LL Cool J made a song out called "Roundaway Girl." Sassy mouth with a bad attitude. That's all I need to get me in the right mood. But that transcends more than just the song. That's the culture. And it's not just the women, but you saw some men in that particular video that operate the same way. We don't like each other. We might love being Black, but we don't like niggas, and we don't like other Black people. And to us, the two are interchangeable. As much as people want to say you got Black people over here and niggas over here, nah, for too many of us, it's interchangeable. You don't believe me? Watch somebody say, "Hey, Black man," was a nigga, what the fuck? It goes that fast. It happens that fast. We don't have a culture of winning. We reject the culture of winning, a winning culture. Because a winning culture comes with boundaries. Because if it's like you look in sports, winning teams all talk about the culture. They could have been losing before. You change the coach, and the coach changes the culture, the environment of the team. And now all of a sudden, a team that couldn't win 2 games 2 years ago is now a season or 2 away from contending for the Super Bowl or the NBA championship or whatever, because they were able to embrace a new culture. That's what I mean about if we're too far down the line. That we don't have the currency or the credit that would allow for us to get to that place where the breakthrough happens and we start treating each other kinder and better, and we generate a better culture while breaking away from the losing culture. We like the losing culture because the losing culture has low standards. I don't have to open up my store on time, my business on time. I don't have to treat you with excellent customer service. It's expected that I treat you with disdain. And there's no accountability partners. Like Patrick was saying, okay, we try to give grace for one thing, but there's still some accountability that needs to take place. One of the things nobody talks about in the terms of how Black businesses lost out during desegregation was the fact that because Black businesses knew that they had a fixed market of other Black customers, they didn't take heed to improve the quality of their products, the quality of their environments, the quality or the maintenance or the efficiencies of their businesses. So when the shiny white business opened up down the street, nobody want to come into your dimly lit, supermarket with your 2-day-old fruit when I can get fresh fruit from down the street from Mr. Joe and this, that, and the other. And I can do this, that, and the other. And yeah, we can call the resources, but we also know that a lot of Black people don't think that other Black business owners don't think Black people deserve that. And then the other half of it is the consumer. A lot of consumers don't feel as though they have to pay full price. That's why we have this constant consternation around the hookup. Brother, hook me up. Look out for brother. But you don't ask those other establishments. So it's a two-way street for sure. And this is why I'm at this place where I'm wondering if we're too far down the road. Do we need to burn this shit down and start fresh? Which means, well, where will we go while we're trying to, move all the ashes and rubble out the way and rebuild? We still got to eat. We still got to survive. We still got to persevere. So, I didn't even think I would think this deeply into it, but
hey, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
So the word culture, right? That's the main thing that stood out from what you were saying to me, right? Because you are right. It is the Popeyes experience. It's a bad cultural trait that we have, right? So I'm thinking about the Black-owned businesses here in Tallahassee. And then I started to think about what is the Black-owned business, what's the most successful, what's the one that has the best presentation, best customer skills, all those different things. And I'm thinking hard. I know the restaurants that I like, the Black-owned spots that I like. So the ones that I do go to, I go to them because the customer service is good. So one of my favorite spots here is Olean's. It's a soul food spot. My only thing is it closed around 1 o'clock. Like, dang, stay open later. But lack of resources. But when you go in there, it might be a line, but you're not going to be in line forever. And then when you get to the actual place where you can see your food, start ordering your food and get to the register, the service is good. Olean's has been around since my mom's was in college. My mom's was in college in 78, right? And Olean's has been around since then. Now, it hasn't necessarily scaled up because like Pat talked about the lack of scalability, but it's still around. But then I think about some of the other businesses that I used to go to that isn't around anymore. And it is because of atmosphere, lack of customer service, lack of doing what you need to do to sustain yourself as a business owner. Thinking about one that had to scale down significantly because they couldn't maintain their building. But also thinking about the environment around these businesses, like the grocery store on the south side. The environment is trash everywhere. It's junkies everywhere. It's people begging for change everywhere. It's all types of stuff that you don't want. It don't look like Publix. Like when you go to Publix, it's a whole different experience. You can't even stand outside of Publix and beg for no change like that. But at this black grocery store and these on the black sides of town, and then all of these businesses that are black owned, whether they're on the black side of town or not, the way they run their businesses is not sustainable. Like I'm thinking about a seafood restaurant now that when it first started, everybody was on it because they was doing their thing. And then as they started to grow, it started to get worse. The service got worse. The food got worse. The soft skills got worse. And one of the things, like at the end of the original clip that I got from the We Need to Talk channel, that last of it was the comedian Don DC Curry, one of his comment view bits, and I remember watching this back in the day, one of his comment view bits talking about basically the bad services at black businesses. Like, you know, you go in there, they got flies everywhere, the tables wobbly, the chairs wobbly, you can see right back through the kitchen, like all the stuff that shouldn't happen at restaurants. But you know, you keep going because the food is good. Even in further in that video, he talked about like the Jamaican restaurants and the black and the African restaurants where they never have food. Like, you know, the joke is if you go to a black owned restaurant and they rude, the food gonna be good. If they nice, the food not gonna be good. And that's crazy. That's crazy. But it's like the culture that we accept as customers as well, because you're right, PC. The customer do play into the continuation of this culture. The customer plays in it as far as to not support the businesses like they're supposed to, and to accept the bad culture, to accept the service that's not up to par. Like, you know, it is an exchange, but it's like black businesses cannot truly grow the way they're supposed to grow if the soft skills aren't there, on top of the inability to scale up, because there are successful black businesses that we're not painting a picture as if there are no successful black businesses. There are successful black businesses, but the models and the morals and the soft skills, even like codes of conduct, the culture and stuff, that stuff is not being modeled. We even talked about that, you know, when we was talking about HBCUs probably over a year ago. Like even the schools and stuff are ran like that. Like black people, we have to run businesses different, or we have to stop making it seem like we're serious about building generational wealth and doing better economically if the businesses that we run, they're bad. We doing bad business. If we got bad products and bad service, or just overall bad service, what are we doing?
Well, it's twofold too, because like you said, it's a cycle, and then I'm so freaking blown away by the comparison between modern black, and I'm gonna say modern black women, because black women, they've always had, you know, the attitude, but it wasn't like it is now, right? It was always a part of this, you know, strong image. And I don't want women to think that, you know, this is about taking shots at them, but the parallels are freaking crazy. When you think about a black business, and this is what I mean about, is it too far? Like, are we too far down the road? When you have in Houston, they got this restaurant called the Turkey Hut, right? And they serve these big ass turkey drums. And from what I understand, the food is great. I've been to Houston many times, but never been there. So, but if I ever get back to Houston, I definitely want to check out the Turkey Hut. The line is outside. Rave reviews. People talk about the quality of the business. They were talking about expanding at one point. But then you have a woman. They had to change the dress code. They had to actually create a dress code.
Yeah.
Because they were having they wanted to establish a family-friendly black-owned businesses, black-owned establishment.
They wanted black people to come in dressed and acting and looking like we got some sense.
Right. So what you had is they said no bonnets, and you can't basically be showing a lot of flesh. All right. And I think it was do-rags. There's a list of things that you couldn't wear. Black people lost their freaking mind. And this is what I mean about, we say we want the standard until we have to meet the standard. Then all of a sudden, we will pick and choose to go to war with people who set the standard that we say we wanted in the first place. So you got the turkey head. You got this chick that goes down there now like twice, wearing nothing, like everything exposed,
no clothes,
walking through, going, showing it all on social media. She went down there twice and did this, and they have her flying in from whatever city to come to Houston to do this.
I think she from up there with Pat.
Could be.
I believe
so. But they then you had the brother that owned the restaurant down in Dallas, and now it's an upscale black restaurant. You got chicks that want to turn around and start twerking.
Yeah,
and he's like, come on, man, like. So like I said, the comparison to the women is the women that say they want a man with high standards until they meet a man with high standards and they try to break them down. So this is why I'm like, how far down the road are we to come back and double down? Because the support that those people who try to wreck those businesses get is off the fucking chain. Like, you go to the comment sections and you look at how many people are trashing the business owners for having those standards, and are trying to, dox them. They're trying to create all kinds of, bad Yelp reviews and all, just throwing dirt on the business. Like, at what point do we get to that place where the community ostracizes the nigga behavior? Because the nigga behavior is the shit we complain about, but we don't want to stop being niggas.
The community won't ostracize that behavior. They won't ostracize it. As a whole, the community won't, because we're at a point to where the community is celebrating that type of behavior. But let's not act like black. Well, and I'm not saying you or anybody is saying that. I'm just using this expression. But let's not act like black people don't know how to act when they go into restaurants or establishments at all. Because the way they act at these black-owned restaurants, they do not act at Chick-fil-A. Because when we talk about culture, when you go into Chick-fil-A, you already know you can't come in there with that foolishness, and you don't come in there with that foolishness because the culture. But compared now, let's go. This that not even black-owned business. Go ahead.
Hold on, Sean. I just want to say, keep in mind, I just mentioned two very upper scale restaurants.
I know.
Named a fast food chain that
that's why I said what I said.
Sunday.
That's what I said. But that's why I said what I said, because it's a great example of people understand culture, people understand code, people understand rules, protocols, and things like that. But the way we view ourselves and the way we treat ourselves in our own businesses and things is inferior to how we treat white people businesses. Like you just said, upscale sit-in dining restaurants compared to Chick-fil-A. They go into Chick-fil-A. Ain't nobody twerking in Chick-fil-A like that. You can go into Chick-fil-A like you got some sense. But it's a culture that has been allowed to continue for so long, because like Popeyes is not a black-owned restaurant, but Popeyes is synonymous with niggatry.
Mm-hmm.
So they still selling chicken, so apparently they don't really care like that. But when you go into Popeyes, who do you see? Same thing with like Waffle House. When you go in there, who do you see? Like, even if you see white people, it's white people who are thought of as lower class white people, right? But when you go in Popeyes, it's us in there. It's black folk in Popeyes. It's black folk in Waffle House. It's black folk in a lot of these businesses. It's black folks that's in the Circle K that got it looking the way it's looking. But it's the way we see ourselves. It's individual low self-esteem and collective low self-esteem, and it's bled into the way that we run our businesses. Pat, you was finna say something?
No, I was letting y'all cook. Because y'all are talking about, you talking about culture. My brain was locked into the business aspect of it.
We're finna get back to that.
I was letting y'all cook.
But I thought I heard you about to say something. That's why I asked that. But I was finna come back to you because you the stat man. So let's get into let's talk back about the business aspect, because we're talking about the culture that does affect the business. So let's get back to the business aspect. But some statistics and stuff, like from your knowledge, your research and things, like how successful are Black businesses, especially like within the last 3 or 4 years that we've had, or last 3 years since COVID. How successful are Black businesses really, like as a whole? Like what percentage of Black businesses are actually successful compared to what we think are successful due to the information that we get from social media and a lot of articles and stuff?
Well, it's always hard to parse out actual numbers like that. Everything's an estimate, but I'll say this: the vast majority of Black businesses are not successful. That's the facts.
And what does that mean?
That means the vast majority of Black businesses are not of a level where they can A, employ people, and B, afford the owner of the business the opportunity to exist without a job.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody gets into, well, I won't say nobody. Most people, when we're talking about business ownership on this level, we're not talking about a side hustle. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't got nothing against side hustles, right? Everybody should have one or two if that's your thing. If you don't want one, then everybody should not have one. Whatever you want to do. But if you're talking about businesses on a level of a structural improvements, cultural improvements, social improvements, then you're talking about businesses that have a impact. Black businesses, by and large, are not having an impact. And while there was a tremendous uptick in the rate of change in terms of Black businesses from 2018 to 2019, that rate of impact dropped. That rate of change dropped. In 2018, there were 125,000 Black businesses. In 2019, there were 135,000 Black businesses. So that's a 10,000 business increase in a year. And then in 2020, it was only 140,000. So there wasn't that 10,000 increase. And then there were a number of, so you're looking at the numbers and you're saying, okay, the rate of change looks good. And then COVID happens and it doesn't. Now, there could be a lot going into that too, because COVID, a lot of people got their money, started a business just to get their money, and then closed down. That could affect rate of change numbers. So you get into this real interesting space when you start talking about COVID, where the numbers get to be funny because people were being funky. Mm-hmm. And then we know people were being funky. And that's another thing that bothers me, is that the face of PPP scamming has become Black people. We know that the fast food chains that we were just making jokes about, they were also scamming PPP. But here's the difference, right? And you feel how you're going to feel about this. At least McDonald's is an actual fucking business.
Right.
Like, y'all were literally creating businesses out of nowhere to get funding and then closing the business and didn't think the government was going to knock on your door. What is So that's not even intelligent. But in any case, 2.4%. I'm looking at the stats right here. This is from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. It's also from census.gov. It's also from the Brookings Institute.edu. I went to 3 separate places to get stats because I wanted to make, and all of the stats is the same. They're all the same. All right. 2.5% of all of the businesses in America are black owned. 2.5%. That's a failure. We're 12 to 14% of the population. All right. We employ least people, the least amount of people of any other group of people with businesses, which supports my point that we don't hire people. We just start businesses. The average payroll is lower than outside of Native Americans. All right. So we that's different, but it's a lot more of us than them. The payroll is lower. The annual sales are lower. The amount of businesses are lower. Everywhere you look, black people are at the bottom when it comes to black businesses. And this is important because we like to compare ourselves. So let's compare ourselves. We're doing worse, comparatively speaking, than every other demographic in America, with the exception of Native Americans. And we all know Native Americans got their own issues.
Right. So we doing the worst, basically.
So we're doing the worst, right? If you want to talk about black businesses hiring people, black businesses only hired, there were only 1.3 million people in the employ of a black-owned business. There are 45 million black people in America. Our businesses employ 1.3 to 1.4 million people. Most of the people, I believe the number is like 40% of black-owned businesses are run by people with advanced degrees. That right there eliminates 80% of social media. Let's just be real about it. Most black-owned, 40% of black-owned businesses are run by people with a master's degree or better. And there's a reason for that, because black-owned businesses dominate the healthcare and social assistance sectors.
And you want to know why? Because those people have the skills to be able to create those businesses, create those offshoots of the careers and stuff that they've been able to have. And so, especially if you built those skills, and you break off, because that's what we do in the healthcare and in the social service field. That's what we do.
But here's the part that black people need to understand, right? Unless you can scale up businesses in the healthcare sector, unless you can scale them up, small healthcare businesses don't make money.
Right.
They don't make social assistance businesses don't make money unless you can scale them, right? Because we all know if you can scale a healthcare business, you can make some paper.
What?
But you got to scale it first. So there's the other rub, especially with all this social media stuff. All y'all talking about opening restaurants. Restaurants have an extraordinarily small profit margin. As the brother said, it was accurate. So we get into all of these nuances when we start playing around with the numbers, and they all showcase a picture that says that black businesses. Look, if you want your business, because business is the economic machine used to accumulate resources. It's the battlefield, the economic battlefield, right? And this is Joe and I was talking about this. Economics is how you manage resources. In order to acquire resources on a cultural scale, you need a business. Business is the war engine of economics. That's how you acquire resources, right? Where are you storing those resources?
Right.
That matters. If you don't have a place to store those resources, it doesn't matter what your businesses are doing, because you're just handing the resources back away because you don't have no storage facilities. But even to that, the businesses that are the primary builders of economic wealth, that have elevated profit margins, those are hard skilled businesses. Those are the businesses like the constructions and my brain is drawing blank, but y'all know what I mean.
Vocational stuff.
Yeah, those are the businesses that build wealth and that build power. One, because the entry isn't as high because you don't have to be $150,000 in debt to accumulate the skills and license to start those businesses. And two, the profit margins are bigger. So you got all of these things working. And this goes back to the blue collar conversation we keep shitting on black men about. Like, those men have the skills and the abilities to build the community economically and structurally, and we keep shitting on them.
Mm-hmm. Copper squat.
Well, that's one of the points I want to hit on is when it comes to business, we like the glamorous businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I remember scrolling through Instagram maybe last week or the beginning of this week and come across a post that I've heard this rhetoric before, but from this post about how a lot of people just period overlook what are called the boring businesses, like owning parking lots and vending machines or ice machines and stuff like that. Stuff that's not glamorous, but it makes a lot of money. So a lot of people overlook those businesses, but black people specifically really want to be entrepreneurs and CEOs. And it's just because, of course, we want to be like white folk. So want to be entrepreneurs, want to be CEOs, but also one of the things that I've noticed with black businesses that hurt a lot of black businesses is they duplicate other businesses. So they'll see a business and this person is having success from the vantage point of the person who's watching them. They view them as successful and they want to duplicate that business. So 17 people can't sell shea butter and black soap and the oils and stuff like in one area. Like 17 people can't do that. Like everybody can't do hair and lashes and nails and install wigs. If I see another car wash on Lake Bradford Road in Tallahassee, like stop, like
I ain't mad at the car wash though, but
no, bro, no. But well, how does it help black businesses? Like, how does it help one black car wash actually really scale up? Because you're taking businesses away from them, right? But why don't y'all work together? But on this one road, the road ain't that long. On this one road, it's like 4 or 5 car washes on this one road.
Can't work together, Joe, because we too fucking shiesty. And y'all know that we have tried to work and build with black people. We had a nigga steal our curriculum. We had another nigga still, get mad and took his social media platform and like taking his basketball and walking off the court. We've had, other people bad mouthing us because we had standards and things of that nature. And every time we've tried to build with other black people, it's just been us three in the motherfucking room. And that's we start the conversation and we end it in the room. And we've been doing this for a decade. So, the thing that's funny is that, when you say about the simple businesses, right? When the world was coming to an end 3 years ago, nobody gave a damn about any of that innovative stuff. All they wanted was toilet paper. The man who was making toilet paper was the fucking king. If you had toilet paper, people were ready to break into your house and rob you. Alcohol, bottled alcohol, something that's easy to make and manufacture, but it's boring. We want to be on the cusp of innovation, but the problem is we're not innovative. So like you said, we pick and choose. So this is why we copy everybody else's shit, and then we tend to flood markets. Like you were just saying, Joe, the car wash. Like we were saying, if another hair salon opens up, if another person starts to try to sell eyelashes on my timeline,
but do it somewhere where nobody else is doing it. Like, don't do it in the same area. But go ahead, Pat.
No, I was gonna say, and I wanted to, because I said 40% black businesses are in healthcare, so it's actually 30%, but I misspoke. But what you guys are saying is the truth, and that's why in PAX we created a rule for that. Like there's a guideline rule for that. Don't duplicate energy. One of the things that, and we live by that. Like the reason, if I may, Joe, and I will, I'm not gonna give you a chance to say yes or no because you don't know what I'm finna say. But the reason why I am on this breakdown with Joe
I knew you was gonna say that,
is because you ain't know when I was gonna say it though.
but I knew you was gonna say it.
No, because you ain't know the conversation was gonna go in this direction.
I'm the director.
Whatever. Anyways, the reason why I am on this breakdown with Joe is because we both had an idea for breaking down black content. We had slightly different ideas about how to do it, but we had the same idea at its purest, at its base form. And so I said, well, actually, I can't remember if I said or Joe came to me, so we're going to give Joe credit because this is his platform. But Joe was like, well, since we got the same idea, why don't we just do it together? And I was like, cool, because your platform bigger than mine anyways. Boom. Breakdown Friday is born. Like that is like we live by the same shit that we're preaching about. And it exists in all areas. It ain't just, but what PC said really, because it's a cultural thing. We love imitating what we think is successful. You go back to the clip you played earlier, right? The dude that was acting, the family that was acting like old white money.
Yeah.
They was shitting on the dude. Like black people don't act like, we all know that dude was doing his best, sitting there with his daughters, acting aloof and uninformed with his pipe in his beard. Even the manner of speaking, they were pretending to be white money, doing what they thought white money does. That is at our core. Like PC said, everybody wants to be innovative. Everybody wants to be a part of some innovative shit, but don't nobody know how to be innovative. And that's because don't nobody really know how to think. You're just doing what everybody else do. You're not even thinking about what you're doing. You're just doing stuff. And I can say that with absolute certainty because, like I said, I used to consult. I used to be a consultant for business owners. Y'all aren't even thinking about what you're literally just doing stuff.
Yeah. Well, the sad thing about like the overall Keith Lee situation and what's happening in Atlanta is basically people are mad that their bad customer service is on Front Street instead of just not having bad customer service or acknowledging that they had bad customer service and working to fix it. You know, this conversation that we've had that people in our community, even though they know they're wrong, they don't want to change. They want you to change so they can continue being wrong.
Yeah, they feel good. Shit.
Because they're not the problem. You recognizing them being wrong is the problem. And black businesses cannot grow like that. Like, but let's just think about it. Businesses ran by other groups of people come into the black community and they can scale their business, they can grow their business, they can create generational wealth. They can hire other people, they can do all types of stuff. They make a killing in our neighborhoods off of us. In those same neighborhoods where black people have black businesses and black businesses are struggling. Black businesses aren't being as successful as these other businesses. But once again, like we said earlier, it's the fault of the customer and it's the fault of the business owners as well. It's a two-way street. We have to, we were talking like solutions, like be better, like have better soft skills, have better business skills, like go like what Pat said earlier, go back and do your research and learn your industry, learn how to run your business, learn the market. Don't just jump out there trying to do stuff. If you look, I don't care who you think you are. If you're gonna start a business and you don't do no market research, you don't do any studying, you don't research nothing about the market and business and the industry that you're going into, you're going to fail. Don't care who you are, you're going to fail. Do your homework. And if you don't have the resources, find the resources in your city. Find what you can and be able to start, but don't just jump out there just trying to do it. Like, we got to, I understand to get it out the mud thing, but we got to stop getting it out the mud and be more tactical and strategic about
Joe, don't do that. We not getting it out the mud. We not getting it.
No, it's the mentality that people have. I'm not talking about people actually getting it. I'm talking about the mentality. That's the mentality that people have.
Joe, they don't even have that mentality.
Yes, they do. Yes, they
don't
do.
have to get it out the mud mentality.
No, this is what, listen, this is what people are saying. This is what people are, this is how they think, and this is what they, I'm not saying they're actually doing it, but this is what's coming out of their mouth. Everybody's like, get it out the mud, get it out the mud, get it out the mud.
But this is what we got. This is what we need to start doing. We need, like, you're not getting it out the mud. You don't know how to get it out. We point to the mud.
I hear what you're saying, but that's not gonna stop them thinking like that.
No, what's gonna stop them thinking like that is people telling them that's not what that means.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Well, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying,
I get what you're
people
saying.
We talking to.
This is what I'm saying, right? Because the people you talking to right now, they're children. I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to the other people that actually want to get it out the mud, but are under the mistaken assumption that getting it out the mud is doing what the children are doing. So that's not getting it out the mud.
So what are they then? If they trying to do what the other people doing, what are they?
They are misinformed. If they listen to this and do some research and continue to do that, then they get to be retarded children. But if you were raised in an environment where everybody was a retarded child, I can't blame you for acting like one. Now, once you know better and you continue, well, now you've just proven you're retarded. So now I'm not talking to you either.
Mm-hmm.
PC, I saw you shaking your head. Go ahead.
No, because I totally agree with I believe we need to hit rock bottom. Because that video, the brother, he ended it on a high note. Like, when he said we don't really give a fuck about being the boss, we just like to look like we're the boss. We want to be the boss, but we don't want to really be the boss. And we like to look the part, the faking it till you make it, but we never seem to make it in the front end. And this is why a lot of well-dressed black businesses go belly up. What's that sister that's running that city out there in Illinois? That township out in Illinois, Port, Illinois, or something like that.
I can't think of the name right now. What is it? Dalton.
Yes, Dalton. Yeah, Dalton, Illinois, or something like that. Yo, you know what I'm saying? We want to look the part, and we'll rip everybody else off to be the part, and we'll become criminals and crooks in order to stay the part, and we'll be worshipped for it. And that's the problem when you have a loser culture, because nobody wants to hold you to a standard that eventually they'll have to be held to. And therein lies the problem. Candy Burris, that's a problem, sister. That you have a business and you couldn't accommodate for, you couldn't be accountable for the fact that you had poor customer service on a particular day. You didn't say, we fucked up. We need to get better. Brother, we apologize. We look forward to you coming back. It was like, we're sorry you had a bad experience. They put the onus on him. And that's what we continue to do. You look at, like, Joe, and I don't know, we shouldn't even be bringing this up. Joe Smith and his wife, right? She blaming him for the fact that she got an OnlyFans page. I mean, come on. We don't carry ourselves. We don't want to be accountable. And, I put a long Facebook post of the day about leadership. Leaders have to be okay with, like, losing is a part of leadership. And failure is a part of leadership. And but to be a leader, you have to be accountable enough to acknowledge that you failed. And because it's part of the process. We like to be front runners. Dr. Carter G. Woodson warned us about this over 100 years ago. And we're still not learning or heeding the message. I talked to Professor Small had this conversation about 6 months ago. Actually, it's about a year ago. And he said, listen, the lessons are all there. When are we going to take heed to the lessons? And that's the problem. He says, no sense in teaching anything new because everything that needs to be taught has been taught. When are we going to actually apply the lessons to the realities we live in? And like what y'all were just saying, I just think we need to go rock bottom. An addict for whatever the thing they're addicted to does not stop having those habitual practices that are destructive until they run out of anybody trying to save them, until they run out of resources, until they hit rock bottom. And we have to let Black businesses and the Black consumer hit rock bottom to the point where, okay, we're going to destroy all the Black businesses because we know how to act in the white businesses. But as soon as the Black businesses are all gone, the white businesses are going to start putting signs up again and say, no niggas allowed, and then we're going to come back to the Black businesses. And then maybe we can have a meeting, of humility with one another. But because we can't seem to come to that graceful, humble place, man, we're too far down the road.
Well, I mean, programming and bad culture, because like you made me think about before integration, when Black people were forced to only patronize Black businesses, we treated each other better. Well, we treated each other better overall back then, but the way we viewed each other was in a better light as well. So the overall self-esteem of the group was higher and individual self-esteem was higher. But also we were pretty much forced to only patronize and build for ourselves. And then when we were able to go to white people stuff became a higher quality than Black people stuff. That like the white ice is colder adage. Like they've been saying, I've been hearing that my whole life, like white ice is colder. We look at businesses from other people in a greater light than we look at our own businesses. And we make it harder for Black businesses to thrive. We make it harder for them to be successful. The Black tax that a lot of Black businesses have to pay due to bad business practices that have happened before them. We are very, like, especially like the customers, we're very unfair with Black businesses. We go to McDonald's a million times, and McDonald's, it could be trash. Every experience at McDonald's could be trash. We go back to McDonald's a million times. You have one bad experience at a Black restaurant, and now all Black restaurants are horrible, or all Black businesses are horrible. And we know, like, there are a lot of Black businesses that are horrible. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing this, because we got to get our stuff together. But of course, we know everybody's not going to be on the same page. But if you call yourself a person who wants to be to help make things better, then as a customer, and if you are a business owner, you have to be better. You have to be better. And if you need help, we have to learn how to work together to help each other. If you need help, you got to say something, but we have to be willing to help each other, and we have to be willing to reach out for help as well. Nobody's going to really, the majority of Black businesses are not going to get the resources and the help that they need. You're going to have some businesses that do, but the majority of them won't. So once again, if we don't change the culture, change our mindsets, but also be willing to help each other, like you were saying earlier, got to be willing to patronize the mom and pop shop. But if the mom and pop shop, if their customer service is top notch, then hey, because hey, Black people don't have a problem spending money. Black people don't have a problem paying extra, because like all the luxury brands that black people break their neck to have. Black people go poor to have. So black people don't have a problem spending money. We just don't want to spend money at these businesses because we expect, like you said earlier, we expect the hookup at these businesses, and that's horrible. And that doesn't help the business be able to be successful or profitable. But at the same time, the business has the service has to be top notch. The product has to be top notch. Can't give me no half-ass stuff and then get mad that don't nobody want to come back to your business. Can't be giving me your ass to kiss. If I don't care what your culture is. If I call up a Jamaican restaurant or I go to a Jamaican restaurant, I want my customer service to be top. Now I want no attitude. If you out of products, hey, y'all got to do something. You can't always be out of products and stuff like that. Even black restaurants and stuff like that. Fix the flies. Get the flies out. Fix the tables. Fix the leaking roof. Do what you can to make it better. You can't just keep giving inferior products and expecting people to be happy about it. But at the same time, the customers, you got to be better. Stop throwing trash on the goddamn ground. Stop messing up the bathroom. Stop stopping up toilets. Stop going in these restaurants with these attitudes that you are better than the employees. Stop being loud. Stop being ratchet. Stop doing all the crazy stuff that can bring down the business. The customer and the business have to be better. We can't be serious about building black wealth if this is how we run our damn businesses and this is how we treat the businesses that are in our communities by our people. We ain't serious about it. We just be talking, and it sounds good to talk about wealth. And it makes us feel good to know that black businesses are being started. But does it make you feel good that black businesses aren't being as successful as they could be? I'm just saying. PC, you want to say something?
No, man. See, you already landed the plane, bro. Take us home.
My bad. I was because man, it's just but it's the truth though. Like we got like the two-way street. It has to be better. Two-way street has to be better.
Well, just quickly, I was just going to say, you're doing a series right now. I think you might have just finished on Dr. Joy DeGoy in terms of post-traumatic slave syndrome. And I think post-traumatic slave syndrome is something that truly needs to be examined, specifically for something that Patrick talks about all the time. It's the epigenetic memory that we seem to have and we pass down. And, we have too many, we're too adversarial with one another to actually get into a place where we want to build. And so, because I understand black businesses, they operate with smaller margins. Partly because they start businesses without doing any research. Another part is too that institutionally there's opportunities that's not afforded to them, so they try to go against the grain in order to start the business, which I get it. But at the same time, if I got to come into your leaky roof building, treat me nice. Make sure if I come in there twice and the person that's greeting me has a bad temper or a bad temperament, then the third time I come in there, that person needs to be gone. You can't, it's cool. Oh, they just having a bad day. And I know that a black worker, an employee coming to an establishment in any of our communities, if they're black and they've come from the crux of those communities, yes, I know they're dealing with a lot more issues than the white family that's sending their children out to get a summer job, just because they need to learn some responsibility with their money and things that they don't have bills and households dependent on them. I get that. But still, the testament of your character is how you perform when you are dealing with a situation that you have to persevere. And the way you act and respond to that is a testament to your character and who you are. It's not the situation made you snap and cuss me out or treat me bad or treat me poorly. You are already a nasty person with a nasty disposition, and all it took was one particular situation to trigger that and bring that out of you. We need to address those behaviors, because if we're not addressing those microaggressions, then this is where they manifest at. And they manifest in other parts of the community. And therefore, when we won't deal with each other. And it's ironic that we consistently, when we talk about black business, we typically talk about the leisure industries. We don't really ever get to talk about the black businesses. I think you were talking about earlier, paper mills, things that are staples to a community surviving. We never talk about those types of businesses. And maybe we need to reshift our focus to those businesses in the future, because first of all, there's less communication. We don't have to deal with the customer and client intake, but then there's some tardy issues with that shit too. I've seen work sites that have been abandoned. Never mind. I'm gonna shut up, Joe. I'm landing my plane. Great show.
Hey, I mean, you know, we got to be serious. But great point bringing up the PTSS, because if you do read the PTSS, post-traumatic slave syndrome, it is getting into exactly, you know, more so of what happened. The same thing that Dr. Welsing was talking about. So what happened and how it's still affecting us to this day, and it affects us in the way we conduct business and the way we support businesses, and it's unproductive. And you know, that Negro mindset has bled into the business, because if you think about it, this the two areas of human activity we're talking about, and this is politics and economics. Economics is how you use the money and how you organize and store the money. Politics is human activity with each other. So thinking about that, but in order to be better, we got to put in the work. So do the research, do your research. Don't just jump out the window trying to be a business owner because you want to be a CEO. If you really want to be successful, you got to be willing to put in the leg work and do the real work. And if not, you just out here, you ain't gonna be in business long. And if you're in business long, you're gonna be making pocket change. You're gonna have to get you two other jobs. So let's just be real. So Joseph Ward, Professor Carl Tone Jones, Patrick Irvin, we out of here. Let's be better.